I am Jeff Foxworthy, and welcome to Gamekeeper Podcast. If you want to learn more about farming for wildlife and habitat management, then, buddy, you are in the right place. Join the Gamekeeper crew direct from Mossy Oak Land Enhancement Studio as they discuss the latest wildlife and habitat management practices, news, and, of course, hunting. There's no telling what you'll learn, but I'm going to tell you, I bet it's interesting. Enjoy.
We're live in 3, 2, 1.
All right, everybody. Once again, for the third time today, we're sitting down here in the luxurious podcast studio in the Mole Hole, the Mossy Oak Land Enhancement Services. And we've got two gentlemen from Georgia. They've got more beards on them than usually at Mac. Have you ever seen so much beard in one spot over there?
We need a beard conditioning sponsor.
The man on the right would be considered a mature gobbler. I bet he's got a set of spurs on him, too.
So we've got Dean Mundhenke.
Did you pronounce that right?
Yes, sir.
He's
Wow,
also,
Bobby.
I've got it written down here. So he's also known as Redbeard, but I don't see any red in the
There
beard.
is some red.
There is red.
There's some red there. Come on, Bobby. It's
Redder than his.
But sitting next to him is Will Mundhenke. And you do have some red beard.
Yep,
Have you picked up the moniker of Redbeard Jr.?
I went from no beard to Redbeard Jr. That's right.
There you go. Well, it's our pleasure to have you guys over there. We need to make a mental note that Georgia does not apparently have any razors over in that part of the world. When's the last time you shaved? I think I've asked you this once before, but
98 probably. Well, it wasn't a shave, it was a trim.
Right.
I've known him with a beard my entire life.
Shaving is overrated. It's
It is.
like mowing a yard.
I'm
It's
telling you.
unnecessary time spent doing something unnecessary.
I mean, I keep mine trimmed, but I like to get up and go. Low maintenance is the way. That's what I
Folding
work
your
at.
socks. I mean, who does that?
if you're like on a four-wheeler going real fast down a power line to get where you're to a turkey, is your beard just flowing all in the
It has been. On motorcycles, not four-wheelers, though.
Have you ever lit it on fire? Smoking a cigarette or lighting a fire or something?
No, but I have. If you ever watch The Disease, show me sanding a coal with a drill press.
Right.
And that dang thing's got caught up in that once before. And
Woo!
You'll stop that drill
I
real
was
quick.
going to say, you get your finger off, off the trigger in a hurry.
Big time.
Woo!
It's just so exciting to see you actually sitting here. Can you? When did you start turkey hunting?
1987. Yep.
How many years, Toxie? You did the quickest at math in here. What are we looking at there? 13 plus 24 is.
It's going to be 38 because we'll be 40 years next year, and it was 86. So I'm saying 38 years.
Yeah, that's a long time. Were you successful back in
Very
80?
first year, yeah. And the old man that started me told me it took him 5 years, and he played it up like, you're probably not going to get one for a long time, but you're going to love it. And hell, I went half the season and didn't even know what a turkey sounded like. And got lucky with Jake coming up on two of them big old plastic body decoys to a call made with a call girl box call from Lowell McCullen.
Wow.
That I'd won at the NWTF banquet that fall.
Wow.
But,
There hadn't been a whole lot of banquets at that time either.
Yeah.
I think they had the first one in like 81 or something like that.
Will, how did he drag you as soon as you were old enough to go?
Yeah, he got me outdoors pretty early. I've been fishing since I was 2 or 3 years old, some of our hunting club ponds, and then I started following you around without a gun at 6.
Yeah, 5 or 6.
5 or 6, and sometimes just carrying a little 22, not loaded or anything, just so I could be like Dad.
Yeah.
And then I didn't harvest my first bird until I was 11. I'd been every year before that, and ended up shooting 2 with 1 shot after a grueling long day, and I was hooked from there.
Wow. So the second and third ones I killed were in the same shot, by the way.
Is that
long,
right?
long time ago. Did y'all have to stop? Did you build blinds all the time?
No, we
Didn't
never
work?
did.
Wow. I guess back then we had Mossy Oak had come along by 87, so
Yeah,
that's what made me one of the big driving forces. I was so sick of having to stop and build a blind every time we went. And he took me, before I could take a gun or whatever or shoot just to be alone. But it was like lay down, and I was so scared to speak one, so I was like, I really didn't see much of the time, even though if you called one up, because I was below that blind where I didn't mess it up.
That was always frustrating, like you're not really allowed to watch them.
Yep.
Especially duck hunting,
The first time we got on them together, we watched this one out there with his hens, and he was just blowed up for an hour, And Will's like 6 years old, sitting right beside me, and I'm saying, don't move the whole time, just don't move. And finally, the gobbler gets in the range, and I shoot over his head, and he goes flying up in the air, right? And Will goes, and I just hung my head in shame and just disbelief, and Will taps me on the shoulder and says, I think you got him, Daddy. I seen him flying and flopping everywhere. And on the walk back to camp, I bent over this tree. I said, well, go ahead and kick me in the rear. And he wouldn't do it. So,
Well, look, let me just say this, get this out of the way real quick. So we had you on before, the Redbeard. You've been in this film, The Disease. The guys can go to YouTube and watch that. You make these incredible calls. Your trademark is copper, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah.
And you kind of make them one at a time. You're a craftsman. You're highly sought after collectible calls. Was one in the Fox Fest?
Yeah. The first 10 vests.
That's right.
Yeah.
Which are reserved only for making money, raising money for conservation.
Yeah. And then when we look over here, Will, you're a naturalist with the state of South Carolina. Are there many are you the only one? What is a naturalist?
I'm the first ever with SCDNR, the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Yeah.
That's a big deal. To be a naturalist, it's not just trees or just insects or just soils. It covers everything.
Yeah, that's right. So, everything from fish and wildflowers to lichen to trees, wildlife, game.
So what's a day like
Why
for
don't
you
we
to
have those everywhere? Oh my gosh, what a great position, job. That's awesome.
What's a day like for you?
Yeah, so every week is a little different. This was an effort started by the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources.
Hit the horns for South Carolina.
Yeah, they're
big time.
They got it going on these days.
They do.
Yeah, so this was an effort to recreate what we call the conservation education section. And the entire purpose is to get people out on the trails, engaging hunters, anglers, what we call non-consumptive users, people that are out there just hiking, bird watching, to tell them the story about hunting and conservation, and to connect to them with their public lands and their great outdoors, to inspire and to create stakeholders. So as a state naturalist, I lead naturalist hikes. We have educators that work with us that are in K through 12 education, getting every kid in a classroom out on our public lands, appreciating our wildlife. So some days I'm just out hiking the trail, meeting people where they're at, educating them. Others days I'm doing planning and program creation.
You know what? Someday we should do a partner movie to The Disease and call it The Naturalist. Because that would be a great title and I guarantee you Dudley would be all up in the production of that one.
Yes.
Because he is definitely born to be a naturalist.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Maybe someday I can become a naturalist.
So maybe we'll just include you in the film and you can do it with him.
All right.
How many other states have this position?
So as far as I know, I'm not sure how many wildlife and fisheries agencies actually have a state naturalist position, but to be a naturalist, everybody in this room is one, right? As the late, great Rudy Mankey said from South Carolina, to be a naturalist just means that you have an admiration and love for nature. And without a doubt, everybody in this room and everybody that follows Mossy Oak is indeed a naturalist in their heart.
Yeah, and I'd like to add, you want to share it with other people.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. I was going to say it's more than that because there's like nationwide and all, but it's like the depth of your love for it that really matters. And so if it gets pretty deep enough, you'll want to share it and do it. But if it gets sure enough deep enough, it'll pour itself into every part of your life and preserving, because that is our evangelism. I say it all the time. Above anything, consumptive hunting, camo, or anything, is this caring for the earth God gave us to take care of. That is our mission. All this stuff.
We interviewed Jimmy Stiles about snakes. That guy would be, he's an amazing naturalist.
Oh, big
so
time.
he doesn't he isn't a naturalist, but.
Well, and a naturalist is a generalist, right? So you don't specialize in one area.
Knows a ton about a lot.
Yeah, and every
Yeah, but as
And
it
like-
grows, it's so important. There should be a naturalist that's maybe heading the naturalist movement that has people working under or with them that are specifically targeting. Because I've always said, just like in business, some things are so important. Someone's got to wake up every day. That's all they think about to really move the needle about something. So I think I would love to. Well, I hope they further the funding of naturalists for all the states.
Yeah, that's really.
Here's a shout out to everybody right now to do
really-
that.
So look, what we want to talk, Dean. Let's look at you. Let's talk about. Let's go back to the copper cause and how did copper? How did that kind of figure its way into your life?
Well, I had a piece. I don't know how I came about it, but it was for a 3.5-inch call, and I put it in there and tried to make it play sound, and it sounded like a scalded dog. And so the guy I get my slate from had a size that was 3-inch, so I ordered some of that and tried it, and it sounded good in 3-inch. And
Wow.
then I started selling them, and people liked them. And I played one on, or made one for Nathan on the disease, and they liked that. I don't think I yelped, but a little bit on that thing, and people just like the sound of it. It's just got a different tone than slate.
It's very unique. Rob owns one, and
Yep.
we sit there and nerd out listening to him play on it. It is a unique sound for sure.
Yeah.
You know, we had a podcast yesterday. It was fascinating about strikers. I bet you your calls at the copper very specific or sensitive to the right striker, like really perform amazing, or not with the wrong type of striker.
Exactly.
I bet it's very sensitive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Usually, all of them either got a red heart or a paddock or a walnut, and a different striker won't sound good at all.
Yeah, I like the copper substance. I've talked about this a lot. Is like a characteristic of the call surfaces, or even mouth calls, but it's like, are they grabby? Because the metal or the aluminum or some of the glass can get so slick, and there's not the kind of friction that'll make the sound. But then it seems like the metal calls, the copper actually is better at grabbing
Right.
a striker.
Exactly. The Scotch Brite will actually put a groove in that you actually see. You don't
Yes.
see that on
No.
aluminum, and sometimes your peg will slip on that aluminum.
So you running across
yeah.
the grain? Yeah,
Yeah,
I
right.
figured you did. Very chirpy.
More, I hear more of a break in this than I do on a slate. At least my slates.
It's got a little cry to it too. Very pretty.
Now, I'm not a champion call maker. I mean, when I'm in the woods, I hardly call at all. I mean, I just want to sound like a turkey enough to get his attention, but I'm not out there dancing and making him think that I'm some type of champion caller.
Yeah.
The less I call them, the less chance I have to screw up, in my opinion.
Love it.
And plus, the hen's not talking that much when we hunt them anyway.
Is the copper harder to maintain or keep?
No, it's easier.
Is that right?
One Scotch Brite stripe one way, just keep it all in the same direction. And it pretty much plays good everywhere. Like that's dead center. A lot of slates will be dead in the center.
Yeah, sure will be.
I just find it interesting
Glass.
how you kind of
Really?
gravitated to copper. It's
Yeah, and
It's
that-
only in 3-inch too.
Yeah,
But
and
there's a lot of people making them now. I saw them at Unicoi a lot.
So you just through trial and error realized that they sound terrible on a normal diameter pot style.
There's
And
too
just
much
decided
room in it.
decided to make it smaller, and gosh, it's got a nice ring to it. It really does. So
Everybody asks me about the number of tracks, and it doesn't really make a difference at all. I just like to showcase the wood
Yeah,
rather than putting holes all around
they're
it.
so beautiful.
You know, something good to look at when they aren't coming in isn't a bad thing.
no,
Plus, if you get through it, you can put it on the mantle.
staring at some pretty wood grain is not too different than staring at a fire. You know,
Yeah.
it's it'll hold you
And
there.
y'all got all this elk out there. I'll probably just leave this one for y'all to fight over.
No, won't be any fight. That'll be a short fight right there, guys. I'm sorry.
I don't have
I'll
4
let y'all-
elk. This is the only elk I got, so
How about that?
Y'all can fight over it.
I tell you what,
We're going to need to take a quick break.
Bobby, I would arm wrestle you for it, but to make it a fair fight, I'll let Greg do it for me.
Oh, my goodness.
No, I wasn't even making calls then. No. Well, I'll tell you the funny hunt that you were talking about, your camo and all. We were all decked out in that, and this big ass gobbler was gobbling across this road, you know, and he was just hammering it, right? So I was sitting behind him about 2 yards, and you were probably 8 then.
I was young, yeah.
And he was just waiting for that turkey, right? And I couldn't see across the road, but then these 2 jacks just walked right up 8 yards from Will, right? And then Will, all his life, so my dad got a jack first. I got a jack first. And said,
I got a Jake first. First 3 were Jakes.
I'm going to get a long beard, right? That's what he always said. And, well, he's sitting there, and those 2 jacks are just staring him right in the eyeball, right? And all Will had to done was this and shot one. And they got nervous and walked off. I called again, and they came to me this time, and I didn't have a gun. And they got nervous again and finally left altogether. And Will turns around and looks at me, you know. He shrugged his shoulder and said, "Why didn't you shoot?" And you remember the story I told you about just repeatedly saying, "Don't move, don't move." He goes, and I hadn't said it this morning because I was sitting 3 feet back. He goes, "You told me not to move." I said, "You could have moved an inch."
At some point, you have to.
Well, and he drilled that into me, you know, that wild turkeys are almost like these super creatures.
He's always paid attention.
They are.
Yeah, I mean, that's
a great story, though.
Yeah. Mac, you got a question there?
No, I'm just thinking about. I took Wilkes.
Mac, you always have a
I
question.
definitely do have a question, but it makes you think. So I've got a 6-year-old son, and it reminds me. I mean, it's cool to see y'all sharing these moments because I'm going through that right now. And last year, the first time I took him, found a couple turkeys out in an ag field, and it was perfect. We snuck down this turn row, and there's a tree line, and it was perfect. And I yelped, and when I yelped, a bird on the other side of the tree line gobbled, and he heard it. And it was his first time to hear it gobble. There's a big oak tree, and I was sitting there, and I was like, "You sit right here, and I'm going to get up here because there's some brush." And he was like, "I don't want to sit there. There's like an armadillo hole or something." He's like, "I don't want to sit there." And I was like, "You got to sit down right now." So finally he said, "Yes, sir, I'll sit down." So he sat down. I got on the other side of the tree. Birds coming, I mean, dead to rights, probably 60 yards, a hen in front of him. And I'm about to squeeze the trigger. Next thing I know, the turkey just turns and just starts flying away. And I throw up a shot and miss. And I look back behind me, and my son's peeking around that big oak tree, just wide-eyed. And he had spooked the turkey. And for his sake, he looked at me and he said, "Hey, Dad, I think you need to take your gun to work and practice shooting on Monday." And so I'm going through those similar things, and it's really cool to see those memories that y'all have. I mean, it gives me hope for him.
Oh, yeah.
Well, one of the first things I noticed when y'all got out of the truck and made your way in here was there's a special smile between the two of you. It's pretty special. I can tell already. There's a respect that you have for your. I can just see it. And
hey, Dad.
It's mutual.
Hey, Dad. Ain't nothing like it, is it?
No, I got lucky with Will. I've never been an ounce of trouble, and we fish and hunt as good as we do. Talk on the phone every day.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
You know,
That's great.
he became a dad a year ago to his own little daughter, so he's got all
Man,
that.
that's the best. I'm sorry to have to tell you that, but that's the best. The grandkids.
Oh yeah, definitely.
A friend of mine, I said this maybe, but he had his first grandkids, and Doug knows him, Ted Kendall. I said, "How about those grandkids?" He said, "You know what? I told my kids, it's a damn good thing I didn't know how much fun these grandkids are. I just had them first."
That's good stuff.
Yeah,
that
it
is
is.
good. That is good. Well, so I'd like to learn more about your calls and your style and what you can teach us about running some of these calls and what you've learned through the years about that can help us. Tips, tricks, techniques things that you've learned the hard way? It's got to be some.
I watched your interview with Cody, and he had a piece of advice that I've always followed. So you want to be where they're going.
Yep.
You like to get in front of them.
That's right.
You know,
Just takes a little while to figure it out sometimes,
And you
or a
don't-
couple of hunts. You know, sometimes it is fun. I mean, I guess it's more fun when you've had a pretty good year, maybe already killed one or two or something. But it is a lot of fun to have to figure one out.
oh
That's
yeah.
what you're saying too. It's like, but may take a while. Just hopefully it's somewhere, you know, someone ain't gonna jump out in front of you and kill them before you have a chance to do all that. But it doesn't happen a lot, but it is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, the best piece of advice he ever gave me growing up, and this is interesting coming from, you know, who he is, Matt Hatter Calls, had nothing to do with calling. I mean, 100%, he's always drilled into me that what harvests more birds and gets you closer to more wild turkeys is woodsmanship.
100%.
Yeah, so for a long time, he always called me buffalo feet, right? Because I dragged my feet through the leaves and just
It's crazy how
wasn't
many.
even thinking
Yes,
about it.
there's
Yeah.
so many similarities. But Daddy would always say, people would ask him all the time, "What's the most important thing?" That's calling. If you fancy calling, nope. He'd say, "Knowing the lay of the land."
Yep. Yep.
That comes first.
Yep, knowing how to walk quietly.
And he would say, "Pick your feet up, pick your feet up."
Yeah.
He'd walk some, pick your feet up. And he'd just stay on me about it.
Will, what are some of your favorite calls that your dad's made?
Oh man, it's definitely his copper calls. He has an 8-track copper call, which I've always fallen in love with because it's the history and the heritage of the 8-track player, and you know he's been making these for how many years now?
Since 02.
Yeah, so it's a long time, and his workshop's in the basement of our house, and at some point in my teenage years, I moved down there and never had to worry about an alarm clock because I'd hear yelping every morning nonstop.
That's awesome.
I'm pretty sure I could be blindfolded, put in a room, and hit over the head, and I'd know a turkey's cadence like better than the English language. And I heard the bad ones, I heard the good ones. He'd try 50 strikers on a call before he'd let it leave the shop. I mean, it's utmost quality, but yeah, I mean it's pretty special. Yeah.
So what, Dean, if you're in a hunting club over there, I guess you're competing with other hunters that are in that club for.
One other serious one.
Yeah. So when you go in the morning, you're going in before daylight. Or talk to me about how close you're trying to get if you know the turkey's there. What are you letting the woods wake up themselves? Or
Oh yeah, and I don't make any locator calls or even call to them on the tree limb until they come down, or at least start gobbling. And I might tree yelp at him if I'm above him to make him think that I'm a hen on the limb. But if I'm on the same level as him, I don't talk to him until he comes down where I know he was going.
That's hard. I have a hard time doing that. If he's gobbling in the tree, I want to let him know where I am.
I mean, that's hard for me. I gotta feel like I'm pretty much where I need to be, just right anyway.
But I try to get
It's
close.
Like, I don't want to screw. I feel like if I do something I could screw this up, I really got him beat or whatever already. Other than that, it's hard to make yourself sit on your call.
If I can see him on the limb, I might talk to him, see if he's turned the wrong way.
See, I'm scared if I do that, he's gonna be able to see right there to me if I can see him. So I'm just like scared to even blink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
It makes you feel vulnerable.
it does.
You can be seen.
How does your copper pot sound really early in the morning when it's still humid?
Cold.
That sounds fine.
You see a big difference between like
good to know.
really cold, like freezing cold, and then warmer.
No, I hadn't paid that much attention to it. No.
A lot of of course, we just got through talking about Bob, and he taught me about that. Put them on, a slate and stuff like that will kind of get a little dead and it's cold. And he was like, put them on the dashboard, let the sun shine on them, and if you're hunting up in the day, it'll help the sound. I didn't know if there was a difference in copper that way or not.
No.
Not too bad.
No, not that I've noticed.
Well, that's good to hear.
It is good to hear.
Is it going to patina over time?
Oh, yeah.
But the sound doesn't change; just the appearance changes.
Right. And when you scotch braid it again, it'll get bright again.
Okay.
Wow.
Guess I need to add that to my list.
There's something.
They're beautiful.
There's something so like special about copper and just of the metals in the environment, the elements of nature and everything. It's how they make electricity.
So can you divulge a little bit about the process of making those? Are you turning that on a lathe or?
No, I started out with a board rather than a block of wood, and like I'll buy a board of Coca-Cola to be as long as I can afford, and I just put it on a drill press and drill out the internals, and then I take it to a saw and saw it into a square, and then I take it to a bandsaw and make it round, and then to a sander to get the bandsaw marks off, and then to a lathe to put the shapes that I want in it.
Okay.
Wow.
And then take it back to my table and decide where I want the tracks. And, you know, my hands have gotten, I use a what's it called? Fordham Dremel type tool. And it used to come with this thin bit, mandrel. And now I've gone to a big old fat one because my hands get to hurting from dremeling out those tracks. And I've found I'm putting less tracks in them. less pain on my hands.
Wow.
But it doesn't make any difference because all my medallions have some type of sound release in the middle, which a lot of, you know, people put their center hole in there so they can put it on a lathe. But I used a drill press for years, and my wife bought me a lathe one Christmas. I said, well, I ought to put that there. I won't be eating so much dust.
Well, I think you missed your very first step that you've done forever. So anytime he gets any type of board, right, it's not just how many calls can I get out of this board of wood. He combs over that grain, that wood with intricacy, and he looks for stories that the wood tells him.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he'll actually cut a pot out that either has a volcano or a ghost or a calling turkey or an old man in the grain. He looks for what the stories are told through the wood.
And I'll
that's what
waste
he'll put
wood
in,
just to get to that unique grain or whatever.
just to have that storytelling in the wood.
What's some of the unusual things you've uncovered through the years?
One piece of Coca-Cola got had a knot, and this is really cool. It had a knot that was exactly the same shape as a gobbler's head, and it had the snood and everything.
Wow.
And I figured out a way to put that on where I could make it round and turn it, you know, just like it had a quarter-inch hole in it, and made it round. And I said, I don't remember if I put any tracks in it or not because the shape of that gobbler's snood and head was so big. And it was a 3-inch call. I made a ceramic call out of it. This collector in North Carolina's got it. That was probably the coolest, but I've seen ponds in them in the grain, and I put a jumping bass in it. Mm-hmm. I saw the very first one for the Fox series had an old man up here in the corner, right? And I'd never met Mr. Fox, so I didn't know what he looked like, but I thought it looked like a wise old man, you know. So I made that. It was going to be my very first one.
Wow.
And I had that Fox medallion in the middle of those. And while I was turning it to make it round on the lathe, this part right here just got a puny piece of it, and it went all the way down where it would hit the copper. And I said, well, that's not going to cut it from Aussie Oak. So I set that one aside, and Stephen was filming that whole series, and so he had to start all the way over. He couldn't stand the dust in the room. He had his camera setting out way out of the room because it's just a puny shot. And he says, well, we got to do what we got to do. So I started all over, and he filmed it all again.
Wow.
But I kept that one for my own personal call, and it has killed several turkeys. Mm-hmm. I think it's got some magic in it.
Yeah, so you could call that a defect, or you could call that character.
That's right.
Yeah. But I didn't want anything to be wrong on those 10 calls.
Wow.
So is that copper, what's in your hand? Is that your go-to call? Is that what you're going to use in the morning when you, first morning you go to Georgia? That's what you're going to pull out?
Yeah. I use a mouth diaphragm a lot too, though.
How does it cluck?
Bobby's looking for the bubble cluck.
That yelp is just irresistible.
You can change your call with just your striker too. If you
Oh,
wanted a
yeah.
raspier yelp, you could get a different type of wood.
What type of wood do you like the best?
It's usually red heart or paddock. Paddock sounds good just on about everything I make.
Is that yesterday we talked about the Janka scale. Is that hard or is that soft?
It's probably medium. Yeah.
That's Padauk. I think that's how it's
It's an
spelled.
African wood.
Never heard of it.
Thank you, Mr. Know-It-All.
So yeah, he told
I've
me.
just always pronounced it differently in my mind.
It's a 1725 on the Janka.
Yeah. How about that? Look at Mike fact checking us over there.
No, he knew that off the top of his head. What do you mean?
What's Purple Heart? Purple Heart's a real hard one.
He said that, and I thought it was, and then he confirmed it. The hardest domestic wood is the Bodoc, Osage orange Bodoc. All those up, but it's still not. But like the upper middle, all the really dense stuff is exotic, different
Yeah.
countries. A lot of it from South America, but
Yeah.
other countries.
It's 1860.
So they're similar.
Yep.
It's a little harder than the.
Well, as you know too, there's differences from out there at the cambium or whatever to the heart of the tree. There's differences in the density too
Yeah.
on a lot of trees, especially a big. I'm sure, Dudley, the bigger the tree, the more diversity from outside to the inside it is in the density too. I'm sure the middle's the densest.
Yeah, I would think believe it or not, I think I remember this from forest products. Most hardwoods, when they're grown faster, they're actually more dense
Wow.
than the tight-grained version, which doesn't make sense to me at all.
No.
I think I missed that on a test one time, and they were like, "No, it's the other way around."
So I know they'll dock you on your pines if they're too big a growth range or too far apart.
Yeah,
That's
because they
different.
can get ring shake.
Yep.
Yep.
Have you messed with any other metals in calls?
Aluminum. Yeah. Just aluminum.
Or all your have you done anything like other than like a circular pot call, like a triangle or a square? Or,
No.
is that just because of the way it projects the sound being in a circle, or is it just because it's easy to hold?
Yeah, just I started my career actually with success with the trough call from Primos, the
Right.
Cedar Super Slate. I had two of those notched all the way up the sides, and that was the easiest thing to learn how to call, because you didn't have all this room to mess up with, and you didn't know where it was going to sound like a cluck or yelp wherever you hit it.
What was
It's
that
the one in
surface
the
on
cedar.
those? That wasn't aluminum, was it? On the,
I think there were.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made them in aluminum.
They had
later.
some with some slate, those strips of slate.
Well,
I
that's
think, or
what
something.
mine were, in
Yeah.
cedar. And the first 2 years, I think they made them in cedar, but then they wouldn't because it got too expensive for them. And they actually quit making them at all, and they came back with a Heritage Series made out of walnut. Those were good too.
Will, what about you? How serious of a turkey hunter are you?
I go any chance I can. I got pretty busy so every spring break from high school all the way through college and grad school, I always made it a point to, instead of going to the beach for a week, I'd go out with Dad turkey hunting and spend the week in Georgia just out at turkey camp. But I did that. I tried to go the weekends that I could during school, but I ended up going to grad school. Got busy, got married, had kids, but I always went anytime I could. So I'd say I've always been serious about it, but I've gotten to where I'm going every morning I can the last 5-6 years.
That's
but,
awesome.
Yeah.
You probably have some pretty good insight on some of the public land in South Carolina, I would say.
That's what I told him he should be doing.
I tell people I'd take you turkey hunting if I knew where any birds were.
There you go.
Wow.
You fit right in around here. Bobby, this one's going to be hard to get any goods on. You might as well save it for another
Yeah.
victim.
Yeah, and South Carolina's a long way away from here. But you know what? South Carolina has made some changes to their seasons in the last few years, and has that been a welcomed change over there? Or are y'all seeing that's helping?
Yeah, I mean, this was really our biggest change, that we've actually reduced the limit that you can take now. I think it's for the better. I think it's something that our state needs. For the most people that I've talked to about the change, the reception's been mostly positive, just in my small sample size. But this will be the first season we actually see that enacted.
Yeah. I mean, you know, hunters are, especially turkey hunters, are very vocal, but it feels like most of them are willing to make some changes to try to help.
Right. Most, I think, really care about the resource, especially those on public lands. You know, they want to see it grow. They want to see it prosper. Private as well. You know, South Carolina is unique in that you can't hunt public lands on Sundays. That was a challenge I had to learn about coming from Georgia, and that's an old-time law. But most advocates for that think it gives wildlife a day to rest. There's some people that are frustrated about that, but for the most part, people want to see them come back.
Is that just public land or private land as well?
So that's just public land right now. Yeah, so that's just WMA's National Forest. So private land you can hunt on Sundays.
Yeah, I don't think they would touch that one.
Yeah,
They probably couldn't.
I think there are. I think Virginia might be a state where there's no hunting on Sunday.
I think there's about 10 or 11 still in the United States.
That you can't hunt at all, even in deer season?
I think that's right.
Wow, I did not.
Yeah.
Ignorant me, I did not know that.
Well, and there was a discussion of removing that, but it was a controversial issue, right? Because if population numbers aren't where you want them to be, then why would you remove a day on public land to where you can harvest even more birds? Right. But it's challenging because you have to balance the desires for bringing the wild turkey back with the desires of South Carolinians, you know, as you serve them for an agency. So
That's tough.
So, I mean, part of it's our ministry. Our mission here is so it's not the most important thing where they set the limit, and it's not the most important thing if they take away the Sunday or not. It's like each individual place has somebody watching over it or affecting it in some form, and what you do there, regardless. So if the limit's 2 or 4 or something, whatever, doesn't mean you should go. It should be based on what's best for the place and a thriving population. That's what you do, and not just because the limit says you can do it. So that's what we're trying to, and I think more and more people are seeing that with some restraint, they're seeing big results in a lot of places, I think. It sure sounds like it. Now, I know that's anecdotal, but listen to a lot of people in a lot of places, including state biologists. I think the restraint is so. I mean, you know, hopefully most people are, instead of just how many they can kill, it's like, how can I get it to where I'm having great hunting every year? And you know, and then actually we probably could kill a lot and keep it that way, but it still goes back to doing first things first, and that's the message, big time.
Yeah.
You know, and not point a finger. Oh, the limit was 5, so I went ahead and shot 5 or whatever. You know, this just goes back to every individual piece of dirt, and you know, all its forms.
Will, what was it like growing up, going to this camp your dad has with, my understanding, doesn't have any electricity and some of the creature comforts that some of us might have grown used to? What was that like as a kid?
yeah, it was definitely an experience. We camped in a 67 Scotty, right? Yeah, 67.
Wow.
Yeah, Scotty Cerro Sportsman. The roof was more duct tape than anything else. And there was I'm being a little harsh, but there was the annual rodent clean out before the season. You had to get in there, you know, get your battle face on, see what you're
Well, about once every 10 years, right?
Yeah, once every 10 years. You just sleep hard and you ain't worried about it.
He always slept with his clothes on.
Yeah, I did in that sleeping bag. But no, I mean, it was an experience. It taught you to be tough. He let me build fires from a very early age.
We ate good.
We ate very, very good.
That's awesome.
Steaks all the time. Just
Sounds
being
like
outdoors, and we'd have oil lanterns.
Yeah, it sounds like a greater experience than a lot of people get to have, to me.
Hey y'all, Jimbo here with Drake Waterfowl and Old Tom Turkey, talking about some of our new turkey stuff for this spring. We want to start with the Early Bird collection with Vital Protection Technology, our newest, most innovative collection of technical hunting apparel designed for turkey hunters. It helps in the prevention of tick-borne illnesses such as Lyme disease and alpha-gal syndrome. It's good for up to 70 washings. It's lightweight, breathable stretch fabric with antimicrobial technologies. Be sure and check it out at a dealer near you or drakewaterfowl.com/Old Tom.
Lanny, we're always in here. We always have these interesting guests, and you're always on your computer. What's up?
I'm looking at Onyx the whole time. I love the app, but I love the desktop too.
My favorite thing is Bobby doesn't know how to shut his computer down,
Yeah.
so I can go in there and share his pins to my account.
That's what you were doing in there this morning.
Yep.
Back during deer season, I shot a couple of big bucks.
Of
But
course.
As I'm looking for them, I can
Couple.
turn on this tracking feature.
Yeah.
And I can see where I've looked.
And I use that feature too for spreading seed, spreading fertilizer, spraying. It really keeps you on track.
Onyx is a great company. Look, we know Jared. They're hunters,
They
just
are.
like we are. So
Yes,
they're
no
serious
doubt
about
about
this.
it.
The way they've designed this thing, a hunter and a gamekeeper can take advantage of it and make their property better.
Use coupon code Mossy Oak to save 20% off of your Onyx subscription.
Yeah, and Mac, you shouldn't do that now. Richie, you got to help me. Okay.
Yeah, I strongly urge y'all to watch The Disease. If you haven't, Nathaniel produced it.
Yeah, he's a genius.
And it's really cool. He does have a small camp, and you just pull up, and it's a small little pull behind trailer. I like it. You don't have, you're out in the middle of it, and you don't have a lot to think about except being there, and the purpose of the hunt, and it's primitive, which is really cool to me.
Yeah, so I assume it's still the same way.
Well, Georgia Pine took out my camper, so I had to have it. I couldn't get nobody to buy it for some reason. So it got salvaged at the salvage yard. And my wife got after I was using an old motorcycle trailer for a couple of years there with a homemade bed that I put in it. And my wife finally found a little 17-footer that we put down there. And I got a porch because the Florida boys had to go back to Florida and they left their porch. So I have a porch now.
Nice. Nice.
That's Cadillacing. We moved our firebox, me and him, last year. And that was a chore and a half, man. Got it back in the pickup.
Man, that's just so cool, the experiences y'all are building, though. That's so cool.
Well, and I think that's exactly right. So, I grew up in the 90s, and, it's all video games were a big thing, TV, all that kind of stuff. And it was an opportunity to be kind of ripped out of that and taken to a place with no electricity to where you're just focusing on spending time together, father and son, and looking at the fire and becoming a woodsman and being forced to live this almost temporary but alternate lifestyle. That I really appreciate later on in years. Not that I ever hated it back then. You never had to drag me there. I was always excited, but it was very different. When people would find out that, you may not shower every day or every other day, it was very jarring for some. But
we did put an outdoor shower in one year.
We didn't use it that much. But
we didn't
pretending to
even
be
have an
mountain man.
outhouse. He'd have to go hug a tree.
Yeah. I mean, pretending to be mountain man.
I found out years later that he wasn't even hugging it like I would hug it. He would lean up against it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
The back way.
Yep. Thighs of steel.
The older you get, the more
like
important
wall
that
sitting.
tree gets, I guarantee you. And having a good grip on it.
Yeah. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. No doubt about it.
Dudley, what else you got? You want to hit them with some rapid fire?
We do have some rapid fire.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Okay, well, all right. So I'm going to ask you about 10 questions. Just try to answer them quick off the top of your head.
Let's get both
This
of
is
them to
you,
answer
right?
too. So.
Okay.
All right, both of you answer quickly. All right, are you ready?
Yes.
North Georgia or South Georgia?
North Georgia.
Middle Georgia.
Middle. Red Oaks or White Oaks?
White Oaks.
White Oaks.
Name 2 of your favorite pot call woods.
Coca-Cola, and ebony.
Paddock and Coca-Cola.
Flared tips or regular tips?
Regular.
Sweet tea or unsweet?
Sweet.
Favorite snack in the woods?
Beef jerky.
Beef jerky.
Hunt all day or hunt in the morning and then go about your day?
Hunt all day.
Hunt all day.
Do you mainly hunt just around the house or do you like to travel?
Depends on the invites.
Good answer. Are you sticking with your old 12 gauge or have you swapped to a lighter gauge?
I shot
An
a
old
10
gauge.
for 30 years.
Yeah.
But now I'm down to a 20.
Good answer. Copper pot is no longer. What surface are you choosing next?
Slate.
Slate. And last but not least, the disease or the sickness?
The
The
disease.
disease.
Good one. Love it.
Yeah, that was good. Wow. So did you guys that when that film came out, did it impact your life, change your life? Anything happen from that?
Oh, no. Just people knew me more.
So when you go to a grocery store, do you get
Oh, no.
hounded?
That was right when the swamp. Who's the guys with the swamp?
Like the swamp people or?
Not the swamp people.
Swamp Boys.
No,
It's a call company, I think.
the guy with the long beard.
Oh, the Duck Dynasty.
Yeah, that was when that was going out, right?
Yeah, you
And-
you fit right in, I think.
Hollywood called. They wanted me to do a film or go out and do a show with them like that, but I didn't have enough redneck friends to go in it. They were all in Alabama.
That might have been God taking care of you too. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that. I
No,
didn't even
I don't think
consider
you
it.
So are you a big Alice in Wonderland fan? Is that what the Mad Hatter comes from, or where's the Mad Hatter come from?
I used to go to all the conventions, and I had one of them short top hats, just the costume type. And when I started making calls, I asked my buddy, I said, well, what would be a good name? Mad Hatter Calls or Santa Calls? And he goes, I'd go with Mad Hatter.
A diplomat.
Yep.
What else do we? What is in the story there of your life and your hunting career that we don't know about that we need to hear about? Will, can you think of anything?
Been doing it for as long as I can remember.
Well, we didn't have turkeys where I grew up. It was rabbit hunting and squirrel hunting. We took squirrel hunting as serious as turkey hunting back when I was a teenager. We'd go in the woods and clear out paths so we could move around the woods quiet. Yeah.
Well, and
Pretty serious.
another piece of wisdom he always gave me is the most successful turkey hunters are the ones that go a lot. And pretty much every day of the season growing up for my entire existence, you were out in the turkey woods during turkey season. And that's how he gained all that experience and all that wisdom and that passion is he lives for the turkey woods. And fortunately, he's passed that on to me.
I tell you, when I hear him talk, and we've talked on the phone several times, and he's explained things to me, I hear a respect for the wildlife. I can hear it in the tone of his voice, and that impresses me.
Well, I hear, I agree, but the gratefulness that I can hear him. But I mean, it's manifested itself in what he chooses to do. And so I was going to say this to the end. So from one dad and granddad to another, I just want to be sure you know, more important than those calls will ever be, you've done the best job of excellence in your life of your most important job.
Oh, yeah.
And my congratulations. That's the coolest thing to see of all right there.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And yeah, and so I've said, kids will probably take more of what they see in their peripheral vision than what you beat them over the head with. And so it's obvious that you filled his peripheral vision with nature, being a naturalist, the great appreciation for all of that, because look what he's doing. So good for you.
Yeah. And
I just calling that out for everybody just as an example of something we should look up to.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, and just the Dudley, I think you see it too. That the respect that they have for each other, the love that they have for each other, it's just there. You can see
those
it.
experiences. I mean, not having a fancy camp and all just made it a greater experience. Honestly, frustrating as it might be at rat time and all, but still, that's just
Well, we got to fish in the afternoons.
Oh, yeah.
We'd hunt in the mornings and fish in the afternoons. It was old Civil War plantation behind the camp. we had permission to hunt then of 20-acre lake. And we'd go bass fish afternoon, then go back and hunt the evenings.
Yeah, we've bass fished 3 times as much as we've turkey hunted. Pretty much almost every afternoon in middle school, I'd get off the bus and we'd go to
That's
a
incredible.
local lake and fish. And I mean, 100,000 times we've been out.
I remember when I was teaching him how to throw a bait caster, he took to it right easy. Like, you know, I've messed up a lot of line learning myself. I was impressed with it, his ability, and just laying it on the bank, man. And he was going out for football that year, and he didn't make the team. And I picked him up with my little boat behind. We went and trolling Motor Lake and fished that afternoon. He didn't say a word all the way to the lake. And he goes, "Well, I guess I can always do what you do, Daddy."
That's awesome.
So I said, "Well, you know what? You could be a professional fisherman because you fish pretty damn good." And that's what he was. He was with the SC and DNR fishing wildlife division there for a while. He was a park ranger before that, national park
I was
ranger.
with national parks, and then before I became a state naturalist for SCDNR, I was our aquatic education coordinator. So teaching people how to fish and fly fish and taking them out. So in some ways that came true as a professional fisherman.
Yeah.
Wow.
True. Actually, yeah.
Well, I tell you what Toxie said is just spot on. I'm just thinking about all the experiences. that
Yeah, I
y'all
couldn't
had
let you
together.
get away with that. Now, and I think you know it anyway, but you know what? It doesn't hurt for someone to tell you.
Well, I
You
appreciate
know?
it.
Yes, sir.
You've done well with yours too.
I'm very proud. Very. And they love you, by the way. You're
I
you are
respect-
their cult. There's a couple, but you're a cult hero to them. They love it.
Well, I
And you-
respect them.
it's
I
how
was
you
humbled beyond belief to even be asked to be part of the VEST initiative.
They both are like, yeah, but it's like,
And they met him met me through Will.
how about that? That's cool. It was like, you know, someone said, whatever, Michael Jordan donated the basketball, he won a championship with or something. They were so excited to know that you were going to have one of the calls in there, dude. It meant a lot to them, too, so that's really cool.
See these people? When the clock strikes 5, it's not the end. It's just the beginning. They have to do these things. They have to do those things. Enter the all-new LS Tractor MT2 and MT2E, a relentless force of innovation. Redesigned with a new hood and cab built for comfort and visibility, with enhanced lifting capacity to get the job done. Making these people the ones everyone else calls those people. Visit your local LS Tractor dealer today.
So how can somebody listening to this? They want to check out your calls. What have you got a website or?
Yeah, turkeycall.co. C-O. Turkeycall.co.
Okay, and they can see all the different.
Yeah.
You can just
Most of them are marked as zero inventory because I got them all in the truck for the show tomorrow.
Yeah.
But after I get back, I'll have some probably.
Well, we appreciate you coming all the way over here for this
wow.
event, and
yeah,
and just
I
appreciate.
only do 2 shows, and this will be one of them.
Wow. Well, thank you for being here because that's a drive, and you know we're not in a big metropolitan area, and it's a really treat, you know, because and again that was kind of it just wasn't just my kids; they have a lot to do with it, but it's a whole team of people here that love the call maker community, you know, just like they embraced them to do calls for the, you know, it was a pretty cool group of people that you'd be proud to be part of that did calls for that vest, and then having them here, you know, and then kind of letting because I think it's important, you know, I said it before to some of them, God bless the call collectors of today, let people like you make a better living, and the demand for great workmanship in calls has grown so much. But it's important for the turkey hunting community to see them, meet them, know, you know, when we're talking on the podcast, so they know how much work and love and passion. I mean, the commitment to excellence for what he does, our guests with strikers, some of these people, I mean, their commitment to excellence is just as great as a nuclear scientist, you know, designing some kind of missile or whatever. Their commitment is every bit the same.
And what's interesting is a lot of these guys were nuclear scientists.
Yeah, it might have been. That's
Either
right.
that or they're not. They're just really good with their hands.
Yeah, but their commitment to excellence because they love it so much. That's the same thing that drove you to be at the top of this, you know? So cool.
Well, we've enjoyed it, and tomorrow's going to be a lot of fun at the event. And thank y'all for coming. And we've enjoyed getting to know you a little bit more. We'll continue to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for
And
having
have
us
us
on.
down when we can go fishing. We used to have a tree farm that we could fish, and a funny hunting story. I guess you were about 12 or 13 then, and we come out from the pond. This old gobbler was taking his hens to this center woodlot in this tree farm, right? And it's just a great big center lot of mature natural trees that they had left. And I said, well, we got permission to hunt this, so we can come back in the morning and work this bird. We'll know where he is. We'll set up right here in the orchard, right? And we got out there, and it's still dark, and couldn't find anywhere decent to set up on these little bitty trees he's growing for nursery purposes. And finally I saw this hole in the ground. I said, I'll put you in this hole here. And I hold him by the armpits and slide him into that hole. And I didn't think that all that was irrigated, right? And it was all the way up to here, water.
The wet foxhole.
Terrible. I yanked him back up.
You'll dry out. It's just water.
Oh, goodness.
I let him set up by himself, and the turkeys pitched off a complete different way, and then what? Fox got after him, right?
Yeah.
And he got to watch his natural fox.
Red fox came 5 feet from me, going right to where that turkey was going.
Yeah.
I'll be. Wow.
Just another good experience we had. We didn't get that bird.
Nope. Good memory, though.
But we left and went back to that Civil War farm and got in the middle of a rainstorm, hunted for 2 hours chasing this turkey. I'd already been drenched once, got back to the truck, got a clean or dry shirt on, and I said, well, we know where he went. And so he was just about dead tired of it, too, because it was humid as all get out with that rain. But we got around and got on where he had flown up during the storm and got against this little puny old pine tree, right? And Will's in my lap at that time, and that turkey flies down and shakes his wet feathers off and comes strutting in, and we picked a flower out in the green. I said, when he gets that flower, you can shoot. And he shot, and the turkey did a backflip, and it looked like he was going to get up. And I told him to shoot again, but by that time I was halfway to the turkey, and thank God he didn't shoot again.
All fours midair.
I tackled that turkey like a linebacker.
How about that? Wow.
Whatever it takes.
That's right. Wow.
That's great.
Well, it's just a lot of fun to see a father and son. Will, you got something special.
Oh, thank you.
You really do.
I do too.
Dean, you've got something special.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Toxie, you hit the nail on the head with what you told him. That was good. That was good words.
Yeah, that's.
Well, thanks for y'all letting us have time to sit down and meet y'all in person.
Well, I mean, I promise you, it enriched us just listening to your stories.
All right, guys. So look, everybody needs to run, but thank y'all. We really appreciate it. Guys can go to turkeycall.co.
Yeah.
Yep. On one word, or search for Mad Hatter Calls by Redbeard.
There we go. All right. Will, I'm expecting next time I see you for your beard to be a little longer there, if you could.
All right.
All right, Dudley. Why don't you say goodbye, Dudley?
Goodbye, Dudley. Get us out of here, Richie.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gamekeeper Podcast, and be sure to tune in again. Subscribe to Gamekeeper Farming for Wildlife magazine, and don't miss the Mossy Oak Properties Fistful of Dirt podcast with my good buddy, Ronnie Cuz Strickland.